The rain tapped gently against the tin roof of their small home as Ada sat on a wooden stool, peeling cassava for the evening meal. Her husband, Chike, sat across the room, his eyes glued to his phone, scrolling and chuckling. Ada glanced up occasionally, her hands steady but her mind heavy. She had grown used to the silence between them, the kind that wasn't peaceful, but filled with unspoken judgment. "Look at you," Chike said suddenly, his voice laced with mockery. "Still doing what village women do." Ada's fingers paused, the knife trembling slightly. She looked up, meeting his cold eyes. "Not everyone was born with opportunities. I never finished school, but I do my best." He scoffed and leaned back. "Do you know how embarrassing it is to tell my friends my wife can barely read a message?" His words cut deeper than a knife, but Ada said nothing. That night, after Chike fell asleep, Ada sat by the dim kerosene lamp and opened an old English primer. Every night became a secret classroom. She studied when Chike snored, wrote letters in the dust when she cooked. He never noticed. He never cared. But Ada was slowly building something inside her. Something he could neither see nor destroy. Weeks turned into months, and Ada's secret grew stronger. What began as a whisper of letters became full sentences. She started reading signboards, market posters, and even the text messages Chike left open on his phone. Sometimes she smiled at the irony. The same man who mocked her now had no idea his insults had become her motivation. One afternoon, as she walked through the marketplace, she overheard two women from the literacy center talking about evening classes. Her heart pounded as she approached them shyly. "Please," she asked, "can anyone join these classes?" From that day, Ada's nights changed. The classroom was just a wooden shed with flickering lanterns, and 10 other women like her, mothers, widows, and dreamers. Together, they repeated words until their tongues felt free. By the end of the month, Ada could read simple stories and write her own name neatly. Her teacher, Mama Grace, noticed her progress. "Ada," she said softly, "you have the kind of hunger that makes miracles." For the first time in years, someone saw her as capable, not lacking. But at home, things hadn't changed. She said nothing, though her silence was no longer weakness. Deep inside, she was waiting, not for revenge, but for a moment when her growth would speak louder than his pride. It began with a crisis at Chike's workplace. One morning, he stormed into the house, throwing his briefcase onto the floor. "Can you believe this?" he barked. "They're asking every department head to prepare written reports." Ada paused, setting aside the clothes she was folding. "Can't you ask one of your colleagues to help?" she asked, carefully. "I can't let them see me struggle," he muttered. "Those people already think I'm lazy." She hesitated, her heart pounding. Maybe I can help?" Cheek stared at her for a moment, then laughed, loud and cruel. You want to help me write a report? He mocked. But this time, Ada didn't shrink. She just smiled quietly and returned to her work. That night, while he slept, she opened her notebook and began writing. Slowly, carefully, she crafted a sample report using lessons from the literacy center. She stayed up until dawn, her handwriting neat and confident. The next morning, she placed the paper beside his breakfast. "Just read this," she said softly. He picked it up, frowning. But as his eyes scanned the words, his expression changed. "Ooh, wrote this for you?" he asked sharply. "I did," she said. For a moment, silence filled the room, the kind that carried disbelief, and he couldn't find any words. But Ada didn't need them. She had already spoken the loudest truth of all. For the first time in their marriage, Chike looked at Ada as if seeing her for who she truly was. Not a burden, not a shadow, but a woman who had risen in silence while he mocked her. He cleared his throat awkwardly. You've been learning to read and write?" "Yes, every night after you slept. I wanted to understand the world you said I didn't belong to." He sat down slowly, his arrogance deflating. "Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened?" she asked gently. The question cut through the room like sunlight breaking through clouds. That week, he submitted the report she wrote, slightly edited, but mostly intact. His boss praised him, calling it the most detailed work his department had produced. That evening, he found Ada washing clothes by the well. For the first time, he joined her. "Teach me," he said quietly. "Teach you what?" she asked. "To write like you, to understand things the way you do." "I will," she said. "But you must promise to stop laughing at what you don't understand." From that day on, their home changed. Every evening, they studied together under the same flickering lamp. And as weeks turned into months, Chike learned something far greater than reading or writing. He learned humility, because sometimes the most powerful people are not the loudest or the most educated, but those who rise quietly until their light can no longer be ignored.